The story begins by showing a woman named Haeonsu who is meeting an old woman. It is known that the old woman is the #1 richest person in South Korea. She asked Yeonsu to end the relationship with her son, and will give a lot of money in return.
내 아들인 거 모르고 만났어요? 관계를 정리해 줄 수 있나요?
Yeonsu's boyfriend named Jawan, the youngest son of a best company that became the top 10 in the world. Yeonsu and Jawan's meeting began when Jawan pretended to be a new employee, in order to find out what the course of the company he would lead later. At that time Yeonsu became Jawan's mentor, which made them have to work together, and over time the feelings between them began to grow until they started dating. Now their relationship has been running for 1 year and 6 months. Their relationship is full of warmth and romance, which makes Yeonsu a little pessimistic that she can end it quickly. Therefore she also asked for 2 months to end her relationship without hurting Jawan's heart.
맞아서 헤어지는 게 보기에도 좋고 윤서 씨가 참 솔직한 것 같아서 주원 씨와 깔끔하게 헤어지겠습니다.
Jawan is a very warm and cheerful man. He is also known as a subordinate who is always patient when getting violence from his seniors. To launch the action, Yeonsu tried to make Jawan dislike her again by being ugly and bitchy, but Jawan's warmth was able to thwart the action. Feeling that there was no gap for her to be able to end the relationship with Jawan, Yeonsu got drunk with her best friend named Mira. It was during the drunk time that she frankly asked to break up at that time to Jawan.
최악이야. 돈까지 받았잖아.
Unlucky, the next day even had to be in the same elevator with Jawan, which made Jawan immediately ask the intention of Yeonsu, who wanted to break up suddenly. Jawan did not ask for the answer now but asked to discuss it later when they returned from work. Long story short, when they arrived at the cafe it turned out that Jawan had learned of the meeting between Yeonsu and his mother. Jawan apologized because his mother had interfered with their dating affairs. Jawan also asked Yeonsu not to think too much about the request from his mother. But Yeonsu still wants to break up with Jawan, with the reason that their caste is very different, which makes Yeonsu realize herself if she really doesn't deserve to be the wife of a rich man like Jawan. Yeonsu also added, this desire had appeared before Jawan's mother met her, and Yeonsu asked Jawan not to blame his mother for the breakup between them.
누군지 정확하게 몰랐을 때니까 취업 걱정 해본 적도 없겠지.
The beginning of their courtship began when Jawan helped Yeonsu because her foot was injured. At that time, with kindness and care, Jawan bought sandals and treated Yeonsu's wound, which managed to make her heart melt. But now their relationship has really ended because for several days Jawan has not come to work. Yeonsu, who actually didn't want to break up, felt a deep loss, but everything has passed and now only remains a memory. One day the office was thrown into an uproar with news, which informed that from that day Jawan would become the managing director of the AEL Group company.
감사합니다.
Instead of accepting reality, Jawan is even more determined to continue trying to convince Yeonsu to remain his girlfriend. He also added that he would prove to his mother if he could advance the company in his own way, not in the way of matchmaking that his mother planned. Jawan asked Yeonsu to be a little patient because after his plan succeeded he would marry Yeonsu. The two friends are named Yeong and Pyeong. To silence what they had seen before, Jawan invited them to get drunk together. After getting drunk when they were alone together, Jawan again launched his action to get Yeonsu back. Jawan also asked for guidance about love to his brother named Siwon. Siwon is the first son of AEL Group who was matched with a celebrity to increase the popularity of the company. Siwon really hopes that Jawan can live happily with Yeonsu, unlike himself who married without the slightest sense of love.
나중에 공포 영화는 더 특히 싫어한 거 아니었어? 나 요즘 영화 보는 거 완전 취미 됐는데.
On the next day Yeonsu again felt unlucky, because instead of one elevator with Siwon, who already knew that Yeonsu received bribes from his mother, Siwon was reluctant to discuss the matter of money. All he discussed was the relationship between Yeonsu and Jawan so that it would not have the same fate as him.
쉽게 포기하지 않을 것 같아서.
관계는 이미 정리됐습니다.
네, 알겠습니다.
On that day Yeonsu worked in an unhealthy condition. Jawan, who realized it, then bought her medicine. but Yeonsu, who wanted to get away from Jawan again and again, rejected the kindness and warmth of Jawan, making her fall unconscious. Yeonsu also realized that she was in the hospital. Jawan asked Yeonsu not to push herself too much, as if their relationship was nothing, even though she felt a deep wound. Jawan also made a promise, because Yeonsu once said she would have dinner with him 27 times, in order to give a farewell without leaving the slightest wound between the two of them. Hearing that, instantly Yeonsu was melted and wanted to keep her promise. Since that day they always have dinner together. They have visited several restaurants and eateries, from cheap to the most expensive, until in a shop where they used to go when they were still dating, the two of them got drunk together until they lost consciousness a little. At that time Jawan again declared his love, and this time Yeonsu was not hypocritical and admitted her true feelings to Jawan.
많이 좋아요.
But unfortunately the feeling ran aground again. When Jawan's mother came to their office with the aim of warning Yeonsu not to make a mistake, Jawan, who was fed up with his mother's behavior, then threw her out, which would certainly make it difficult for them to get blessing. Jawan can only pour out all his heart to Siwon, who is the only family who can understand Jawan's feelings. This time Siwon suggested that Jawan let go of Yeonsu and let time determine their destiny. Elsewhere, Yeonsu gets a call from the school where her younger brother studies. Yeonsu has a younger brother who is still in high school named Jisuk, who at that time was involved in a fight with the school bullies. Told that since childhood, Yeonsu and Jisuk's lives have suffered from their father, who likes to get drunk. Their mother also ran away, leaving Yeonsu and Jisuk as children, which made them unprotected while being tortured by their father. The next day Jawan took Yeonsu to a place. Jawan requested that they spend the day together in that place. He wanted a beautiful farewell that he would remember for the rest of his life. The whole day they spent playing together and didn't feel the sun had set. That's when their relationship officially ended. Jawan will no longer impose his will and will not collect dinner promises anymore, because now and then he will only wait for fate that might reunite them. Both of them now look awkward and unfamiliar, a feeling they never imagined. One day Yeonsu got a message from an unknown number. Yeonsu, who felt uncomfortable, then immediately hit Jawan, but it turned out that Jawan did not feel if he had sent the message. It was known that the message was from someone who seemed to want to get close to Yeonsu. The mysterious person greatly disturbed Yeonsu's concentration, who was now going to inaugurate an inn with an art nuance. Yeonsu, who wanted to get away from Jawan, chose to go with Yeong and Pyeong, but unfortunately on the way they got into an accident, which made them inevitably have to ride along with Jawan.
지체하지 마시고 얼른 가시죠.
At the inauguration event, Yeonsu was very fascinated by Jawan's charisma and intelligence when leading the company. She really hoped that Jawan could prove to his mother if Jawan could advance the AEL Group company through hard work, not through matchmaking. However, the success of the event turned out to be Yeonsu's last project, because after this Yeonsu will resign from the company so that Jawan will focus on working and no longer think about it.
윤서 팀장님,
실수할까봐 마음 졸이면서
윤서야.
Jawan, who could not stand it anymore, then went straight home and urged his mother to move him abroad, but unfortunately his mother refused to do so, because now Jawan will replace Siwon, who will become deputy chairman of the AEL Group. Jawan, who felt his mother had gone too far, then asked his mother to see him as a child, not a leader who could be arbitrary to his subordinates. Jawan, who no longer had a home to go home to, went to see Yeonsu, and was frank if he had been too comfortable making Yeonsu a home, but at that time suddenly everyone now knew about their relationship.
서로 다시 사귀는 거야?
They immediately held an impromptu trial. They admitted that they were lovers, but now they have broken up. After Yeonsu and Jawan left, Mira let slip by telling them that Yeonsu and Jawan's relationship did not get the blessing of Jawan's mother.
날까봐 얘기해드린 거니까.
When walking together, Yeonsu emphasized to Jawan, if now she will only be a house that will continue to provide torture and suffering as well as deep wounds for Jawan. She also emphasized that no matter how much effort Jawan makes, Yeonsu will not care anymore and will continue to try to leave Jawan. The next day at the office, Jawan regretted the attitude of Yeonsu, who acted as if nothing had happened and continued to corner Jawan. even though what Jwan had been doing all this time was the way he thought so that Yeonsu would not suffer from the breakup of their relationship. Feeling tired of all the burdens of thought she was now suffering, Yeonsu chose to take half a day off to calm her mind. She also turned off her cell phone, which was always getting terrorized by a mysterious person who had always sent messages. During the leave, there was quite a tension in the office because an art company that had worked with them suddenly cancelled the contract when the inauguration of the art exhibition was about to be opened. Because Yeonsu, who was supposed to take care of this, was on leave, Jwan took over everything. He also immediately contacted a famous artist to join them. With the popularity and intelligence that Jwan mastered, Jwan was able to control everything, including establishing cooperation with the artist. When it was getting late, Yeonsu, who had just turned on her cell phone, was surprised by the chaos that had occurred. She immediately caught up with her team to clean up the mess. Jwan was furious and questioned Yeonsu's professionalism, who was more concerned with personal matters than this very important work. The famous artist who worked with them was named Lee Song-min. Lee Song-min turned out to have known Yeonsu, and that of course made Jwan very jealous. An even more surprising thing was revealed. The mysterious person who had been sending messages to Yeonsu turned out to be Lee Song-min, who had always been in love with Yeonsu. Their meeting was seen directly by Jwan. How crushed Jwan's heart was when he saw that moment. He who could not say anything only emphasized to Yeonsu if he could only love and share his heart only with Yeonsu. But if Jwan had to live without Yeonsu, then he would choose to live this life alone without any sense of love. After Lee Song-min left, Yeonsu was frank if she was very upset with Jwan's cold and indifferent attitude. Instead of being sad, Jwan was happy because it was enough to emphasize that in her small heart, Yeonsu still loved and was there for Jwan. On that day, Jwan did not return to his house. He ran away and stayed at a hotel, which made Siwon very angry with the attitude that Jwan chose it.
탈락하고 경영권 승계에서 제외됐다고.
Cooperation with Lee Song-min will really bring disaster to Jwan, because now Lee Song-min is starting to openly say that he really loves Yeonsu.
저도 얼굴로 유명해.
근데 본부장님이 회식도 오시나요? 그래서 궁금했어요.
But unfortunately Jwan's steps had to be stopped, because on that day he had to go to a meeting to Jeju Island to meet investors with Siwon. At the time of the meeting, his team was having dinner together to celebrate Lee Song-min's joining as a famous artist.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Jwan, who knew the event, was then upset and sad, because he could not join and could not prevent Lee Song-min, who would continue to approach Yeonsu. Seeing the face of sadness clearly visible on his brother's face, Siwon, who had not cared, finally melted and determined to help Jwan to get Yeonsu back. He even ordered a helicopter so that Jwan could immediately return to Seoul City.
당장 회식하러 가서.
Thanks to Siwon's help, Jwan was finally able to come at the right time, because it turned out that their party would continue at a fairly luxurious bar. In a different place shows Siwon's wife, who was surprised when she saw Siwon's tiny banana. A little information: even though they have been married for a long time, they have never even slept together, let alone made children. Siwon's wife is named Minji, a celebrity and a very successful career woman. Her work makes Minji have to take sleeping pills in order to get enough rest, especially the next day she has to fly to Paris, France. Back to the Jwan team party. In a very luxurious bar, the two of them didn't seem to want to give the slightest gap. Both Jwan and Lee Song-min tried to look cool even though they had to be tortured because they couldn't drink.
술안주 아는 사람이 있는 것 같은데.
형님도 드시던가요? 저는 이거 혼자서도 다 마실 수 있습니다.
In a different place, Siwon began to pay attention to Minji by suddenly giving a doll as a therapy so that his wife could sleep well instead of taking sleeping pills that could cause side effects. It was enough to make a fierce wife like Minji smile carried away. The next day, bad news hit the AEL Group company. The joining of Lee Song-min is now the news of many journalists. Lee Song-min turned out to be the son of a politician who became chairman of the ruling party. And the problem is that journalists say that the AEL Group is now starting to lean into politics and close to the Democratic Party owned by Lee Song-min's father. If the news is not immediately handled, then the AEL Group shares will plummet in some time. Yeonsu, who felt responsible, planned to meet the reporters who would gather at the exhibition site. She hurried without Jwan because of the impromptu meeting. Upon arrival at the exhibition site, Yeonsu was greeted by Lee Song-min, who told her that he had made a clarification that AEL Group had nothing to do with Lee Song-min's father's political party. Lee Song-min and his father's relationship was very bad. In the past, Lee Songmin was forced by his father to become his successor in politics, but Lee Songmin refused and chose to oppose his parents' choice in order to realize his dreams as a painter. While painting together, Lee Songmin explained that at first he wanted to commit suicide because of depression in the face of his father's will, but at that time he accidentally listened to Yeonsu's phone, who seemed determined to face all problems even though the problem was as wide as the ocean. Because of Yeonsu's determination that managed to make Lee Songmin realize, he even really wanted to get to know Yeonsu more deeply to be able to have that determination, and their conversation was accidentally seen directly by Jwan.
오늘 심려가 많으셨죠? 그럼 전 한옥스테이 운영 관련 미팅이
The attitude carried out by Jwan was not an attitude of jealousy but a strategy from Siwon. Previously it turned out that Jwan was not meeting to discuss journalists who cornered the AEL group, but they were meeting to discuss strategies to get love from Yeonsu. Siwon told Jwan to pretend to let Yeonsu go, and after being provoked, Yeonsu's little heart will definitely be honest about her true feelings. Not only that, Jwan even moved his room to get away from Yeonsu. Even during the meeting, Jwan remained indifferent and did not glance at Yeonsu at all. The tense situation was also felt by Yeyoung and Pyeoyoung. Siwon's strategy did not stop there. Siwon also told Jwan to go with another woman to provoke Yeonsu's jealousy. Siwon's strategy was really effective. Yeonsu is now starting to weaken in Jwan's absence, plus she saw Jwan walking with Minji. Yeonsu realized and knew that Minji was Jwan's sister-in-law, but she still felt very jealous seeing her idol walking with another woman.
그럴까요?
하니까 형수님 맞는 건 형한테 말 안 할게요.
Meanwhile, Siwon began to miss Minji, who said she went to Paris. He even often looked at Minji's Instagram account just to find out her routine, but this time Siwon was very panicked because he accidentally liked one of Minji's posts. It turned out that Minji, who was already there, finally found out what her husband had been doing. One day Yeonsu started the day a little less good, because it turned out that day was her birthday. All her life Yeonsu had never celebrated a birthday because she had a very broken life and family. Immediately she remembered last year how warm Jwan was when giving her a birthday gift, because he was willing to burn his hands just to please Yeonsu. Not only that, Jwan is also the only person who is grateful for Yeonsu's birth, but on her birthday this time Yeonsu is very sad because Jwan seems to really want to stay away and forget about her. On that day, Yeonsu received news that her mother had died. The story then flashes back to Yeonsu's childhood. At that time, violence was not only Yeonsu from her father. Her mother also often tortured and berated her. Yeonsu's mother even said that her two children were useless burdens and regretted having given birth to the two of them. Jisuk was even reluctant and unwilling to attend his mother's funeral, because since that incident the only family he had was Yeonsu. Even though the facts were like that, but Yeonsu still strengthened herself and attended her mother's funeral, but there she was unable to step foot until suddenly Jwan came to accompany her. After calming down, suddenly Jwan invited Yeonsu to get married. He was very grateful to be able to meet Yeonsu, and he would be even more grateful if he could spend the rest of his life living together with Yeonsu. Jwan did not ask for the answer now. He asked Yeonsu to use the time calmly and obey her heart, not her emotions. Hearing the news that Jwan wanted to marry Yeonsu, Jwan's mother did not remain silent. She even immediately told Jwan to go to Spain. Yeonsu, who knew the news, was of course very sad, but behind the sadness finally courage appeared, and he immediately rushed to follow Jwan to the airport. At the airport, Yeonsu, who thought that they would be separated forever, finally told Jwan that she still loves him and will continue to love him for now and forever.
너한테 매달리려고. 너 없인 안 될 것 같아.
His trip to Spain was not to settle there, but to prove that Jwan could build a company without going through arranged marriage but through hard work that Jwan would take. For 5 days in Spain, Yeonsu continued to accompany Jwan to fill his spare time, and now their relationship has really reconciled. Happiness is also felt by Siwon, who is now starting to get close and even start dating after 1 year of marriage with Minji. Long story short, as a lover, Yeonsu welcomed Jiwon back from Spain, followed by a ritual of making out from night to morning. After the events of that night, Yeonsu is now completely convinced to accept Jwan's proposal. She even went straight to Jwan's mother to return the bribe money, as well as tell her that she and Jawan will get married soon. Hearing that, of course, Jawan's mother was angry. She even insulted Yeonsu by saying that their meeting was a waste of time, because her time was more expensive than Yeonsu's lifetime salary. Jawan's mother was really angry. She even immediately dismissed and fired Yeonsu without Jawan's knowledge. Of course, Jawan was really angry. He didn't even care anymore about the status of the relationship between mother and son, but Yeonsu managed to prevent that and emphasized that she would not waver anymore even though she now had no job.
퇴사 처리하신 것도 난 이제 무조건 직진이야.
Lee Songmin, who learned the news that Yeonsu was fired, then took advantage of the opportunity to get closer to Yeonsu. He even celebrated by giving a bouquet of flowers and a cake, but unfortunately Jawan learned of the impromptu event, which made him immediately follow Yeonsu to the place. The three of them went to a luxurious restaurant. There Jawan and Lee Songmin had to be willing to share seats in order to continue to be close to Yeonsu, but at that time Yeonsu was contacted by Mira, who said there was quite an emergency thing.
등록하러 갔는데 요 근처더라고. 그렇고 금방 갔다 올게.
After Yeonsu left, Lee Songmin finally came out frankly if he didn't love Yeonsu. He was actually very interested in the love story of Yeonsu and Jawan, which felt exactly the same as the fate that had happened to his in the past, who got strong opposition from the family for something they liked. Here Lee Songmin suggests that Jawan not act stupidly, because Jawan must protect Yeonsu at all costs. Hearing that, Jawan immediately asked Lee Songmin for guidance. Lee Songmin suggested that Jawan go back to his mother's house to start a good conversation. He also suggested that Jawan not act like himself, who ran away from home, as if he could be independent even though he had never experienced real life. That night they got so drunk that Yeonsu had a hard time dealing with these two people who were getting along. They even went to karaoke to celebrate that historic day. In a semi-conscious condition, Jawan finally returned to his mother's house. Jawan immediately frankly asked that he be seen as a child, not an office subordinate. All his life Jawan had never asked his mother for anything. The one thing he asked for in the past was even destroyed by his mother's arrogance and selfishness, and now at an adult age he really asked to be seen as a child, not as a subordinate who had to kowtow to his boss. Thanks to the communication approach, his mother finally began to yield.
내렸다. 불행하다는 얘기니? 내 다정한 엄마는 아니었다는 거 알아. 고마워할 거라 생각했어.
Meanwhile, Siwon and Minji finally began to enjoy their marriage, but unfortunately Siwon, who is an expert in love strategies, deliberately discussed his past. He did it to provoke jealousy from Minji, but unfortunately Minji was more cruel than Siwon did. At that time Minji deliberately called her ex to be introduced to Siwon, and it was enough to make Siwon very jealous. Due to jealousy they fought quite violently, but fortunately after the day changed Siwon wanted to give in. He even told if he really loved Minji. Hearing that, Minji, who was initially selfish, finally melted, and was equally frank if she really loved Siwon. In a different place, Jawan and Yeonsu were seen camping somewhere, and at that moment Yeonsu finally clarified their relationship.
내가 낸 사직서 수리된 건데도
고마워.
사랑해.
One morning the Korean media was shocked by the confession of Jawan and Siwon's father. At that time Jawan and Siwon's father in America opened a family disgrace by saying that his marriage to Jawan and Siwon's mother was a marriage arranged by the AEL group to raise the company's name. It was enough to put great pressure on Jawan's mother. As a step to maintain a good name, Jawan's mother also approved her son's relationship with Yeonsu, but on condition that Yeonsu must be willing to reveal her family origins. It was Jawan's mother did to ward off bad news about the AEL group, so that people judge if the AEL group does not close itself to the poor and never conducts matchmaking for the sake of the company's image. Yeonsu immediately asked Mira for advice. She would really accept the conditions in order to marry Jawan, but Yeonsu asked Jisuk not to know about it because if Jisuk found out about the conditions, Jisuk would definitely reject it. However, it turned out that Jisuk had listened to all the conversations. The angry Jisuk immediately went to see Jawan and urged him not to humiliate his family just for the sake of the company's image.
우리 과거 팔아서 그거 이용하려고.
Jawan, who heard that, was also very surprised, because his mother was too presumptuous in dealing with the problems that are now happening. With a feeling of emotion, Jawan was about to hit his mother, but Yeonsu stopped him. She reminded Jawan to realize that his mother is currently stressed and unable to think clearly, and all Jawan can do is accompany his mother in this worst condition.
나중에도 나부터 찾아오신 거잖아. 지금밖에 못해.
Hearing that, immediately Jawan and Shiwon realized. They then immediately rushed to be by their mother's side to deal with the problems that are now happening. They both wanted to take the mother on vacation together, but unfortunately the car they were traveling in ran out of gas. It was at this moment that the togetherness of this wealthy family was finally established. Joy was truly felt together, a moment that could not be bought with money because they had never felt before. Flashback to the previous meeting. When Yeonsu accepted the conditions given, she asked Jawan not to know the conditions because Yeonsu really didn't want to see Jawan suffer. Jawan's mother then confessed that she was very impressed with Yeonsu, who was willing to sacrifice for Jawan, and now she promised not to reveal the background of Yeonsu's life to reporters, and hoped that Yeonsu could give happiness to Jawan. Not only that, since that day Yeonsu was trusted to handle the AEL group company in the field of scholarships, but Yeonsu refused to become a director. She preferred to become an ordinary employee in order to know the order of each part of the work like Jawan did before. In support of their upcoming wedding, Lee Sungmin specially made each invitation with his paintings. At that time Yeonsu could not take care of all the wedding needs because she was too busy with her new job, but Jawan's mother appreciated all her hard work. One morning Minji was carried away by the beautiful necklace that Shiwon gave her as their anniversary gift. She was also flattered by the dinner that Shiwon prepared, but unfortunately the happiness turned out to be fake. Shiwon didn't even remember that it was their anniversary. Even the necklace and dinner, he didn't know that it had been prepared by his assistant. It made Minji fed up and just left. At the same time Yeonsu and Jawan had a big fight because Yeonsu was too busy to prepare all the wedding needs. Yeonsu, who was very upset, then left Jawan, who was still in an angry condition. Minji, who was very disappointed, invited Yeonsu to drink together. They went to Yeonsu's subscription shop and there they got drunk while talking about the problems they had just experienced.
시원 씨랑 싸웠어요? 빡세게 하면 결혼 준비 좀
근데 형님은 왜 싸우셨어요?
적인 건 어머님 아니신가?
When they were badly drunk, they wanted to go to see Jawan and Shiwon's mother to complain about what her son had done, but Shiwon, who knew about it, immediately moved quickly to prevent them from going to complain. To fix the situation, Shiwon chose to apologize sincerely, considering that now their feelings are very clear. Meanwhile, although yesterday's quarrel was quite intense, it was unable to undermine their intention to get married. Jawan and Yeonsu have even distributed wedding invitations, while Jisuk will now live with Mira to learn to cook in order to achieve his goal of becoming a chef. Long story short, the long-awaited day has arrived. Everyone looks happy, including Jawan's mother, who now really likes Yeonsu, and this Korean drama was closed with the happiness of Jawan and Yeonsu, who are now officially husband and wife. See you in the next video and thank you. Kamsahamnida.